How's it going, folks? Welcome back to Draw Phase. I'm your host, lowtierhero, and in today's video we're going to be discussing the new deck archetype that will be getting released in Master Duel sometime this month. And if it's not in September, it'll probably be in October, but we want to get ready for this new deck, and this deck is Purrely, or Purrely, however you want to pronounce it. We are going to be covering how to overcome this deck, because this deck strategy is a monster in the TCG and an even bigger beast in the OCG. So for those of you that do not play cardboard and are strictly playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, the point of this video is to get you educated with some text so that you aren't caught slipping when you are playing in the ranked ladder against these furry little cats. The Purrely deck revolves around quickly accessing and summoning Purrely monsters from the main deck to facilitate XYZ summons from the extra deck. The primary focus is on maximizing the utility of Purrely quick play spell cards and using them as XYZ material to fuel the effects of the XYZ monsters, specifically the Purrely monsters. Additional hand traps and tech cards are included for disruption, draw power, and to stall the opponent, so the deck is very formidable. Some of the key cards for the Purrely deck are Purrely and Purrely, core monsters of this deck that allows access to quick play spells and XYZ summons respectively. My Friend Purrely and Stray Purrely Street, spells that facilitate card advantage and set up plays. They recover Purrely quick play spells and maintain field presence. Purrely Happy, Pretty, Delicious, and Sleeping Memory, core quick play spells that serve dual functions, immediate effects, and as materials for Purrely XYZ monsters, enhancing their ability. They also run a very small monster count, so they can splash all the top hand traps that are available on Master Duel, such as Max C, Ash Blossom, and Droll and Lockbird, hand traps that allow the player to draw and disrupt the opponent's plays. The win condition for the Purrely deck is rapid XYZ summoning of the Purrely monsters and maximizing their effects using the Purrely quick play spells as materials. These monsters provide a range of utility, including negating effects, changing battle positions, banishing, and attack defense modifications. While also facilitating card advantage, the goal is to control and overpower the opponent through these means. Basically, they're going to swarm the field and just aggro stance take you out. However, no deck is without choke points. This deck has a dependency on quick play spells. If the opponent can negate or prevent the activation of quick play spells, the deck's main engine becomes significantly hindered. They also have a reliance on the Purrely monster effects. If the opponent can negate the effects of Purrely or Purrely, the deck's ability to XYZ summon and accrue card advantage gets severely limited. They're also very vulnerable to board wipes. The deck lacks inherent protection against match removal cards like Raigeki, Dark Hole, and Lightning Storm. They also have very limited disruption. While the deck includes hand traps, its on-field disruption is mainly tied to its XYZ monsters. If their removes or their effects are negated, the deck can become quite passive. In summary, the Purrely deck is a combo-heavy archetype that aims to swarm the field with XYZ monsters using its quick play spells. While it offers a lot of consistency and utility, it's susceptible to disruption and heavily relies on its main engine cards to function optimally. Let's go ahead and jump into those direct counters. We are not going to be covering Ash, Infinite Impermanence, Max C, and the reason being is because that is the holy trinity of hand traps and a direct counter for 9 out of 10 decks on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. So if you are not running these cards, you are putting yourself in a disadvantage and creating a challenge for yourself on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ranked ladder. Therefore, we are going to be covering direct counters that are separate and hopefully unique to the playstyle and the available card pool that is not Max C, Ash, and Infinite Impermanence. And of course, these cards are direct counters, so please consider running those as well. Let's go ahead and jump into what we've got. We've got Retaliating C. When your opponent activates a spell card that includes an effect that special summons a monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. This card counters the Purrely deck because, considering how much the deck relies on quick play spells for special summoning, Retaliating C can be special summoned often. Moreover, its secondary effect, which sends all monsters that get sent from the field to the graveyard after it was summoned into the banished zone, can hurt the deck's recursion. Contact C. When your opponent normal summon or special summons a monster, except from the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field in defense position. The counter is that it can disrupt the XYZ plays of the Purrely deck by forcing the opponent to have this field on the monster and using it for an extra deck play. Dimensional Barrier. Declare XYZ and it's almost GG. It'll shut down the main strategy of the Purrely deck for an entire turn. It is literally one of the best pseudo floodgates in the game and available on Master Duel. This next card is mainly for the mirror match, and we're going to see a lot of mirror matches like we did with Kashtira and like we did with Tear Laments. And this card is Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, and it's not only for the mirror match. If you can afford to add a Purrely card from into the extra deck, Ghost Reapers and Winter Cherries is going to decimate, because you can banish crucial XYZ monsters like Purrely Happiness, Purrely Beauty, etc. by revealing the same card from your extra deck. Triple Tactics Talents. Use this card anytime after your opponent activates a card during your turn, and I promise you, Triple Tactics Talents is always going to be live. Dimension Shifter. This hampers the Purrely's deck ability to recycle quick play spells from the graveyard or use Purrely's graveyard effect. Droll and Lockbird. Considering how many search effects the Purrely deck has, this card effectively shuts down the deck's consistency for a turn. DD Crow. This can be used to banish crucial quick play spells or other cards that the Purrely deck might want to recycle. These are the cards that we have that are completely direct counters against the Purrely strategy. Keep in mind the effectiveness of these counters can vary depending on the situation in the game and the exact build of your opponent's deck and the synergy that you can create utilizing these cards. Moving on to board breakers, the very first card that I want to cover, it is at 1 and it is a pretty tough choice, but if you can run it, Eradicator Epidemic Virus is a trap card that's notorious for its ability to significantly disrupt certain deck strategies, especially ones that rely on spells or traps. And clearly this deck runs a lot of spells, so getting rid of those cards is going to maximize your win rate. XYZ Encore. This card can be used to target an XYZ monster that Purrely deck has summoned and return it to the extra deck. The attached monsters would be special summoned to their field, but in this case, since the Purrely deck seems to use quick play spells as materials, it could break their momentum by detaching those spells from the monsters. But keep in mind that if they do bring back monsters, they have the opportunity to recover on the follow-up, so you want to make sure you can take the momentum and run with it. Dark Ruler No More. Using this at the start of your main phase would negate the effects of all monsters the opponent controls. This is especially useful if they have set up with multiple XYZ monsters with various materials. Kurikara Divine Carnate. Kurikara. Use if the Purrely player uses multiple effects in one turn, tributing all their monsters not only breaks their board, but also gives Kurikara a substantial attack boost. The end phase effect can also be used to disrupt the Purrely player's graveyard setup. This next one is a little bit of a niche. Magic Deflector. I really don't see it used, but I wanted to throw it in here because I know it was a big talks when Purrely was introduced in the TCG. There was a lot of this card going around in the market, and I don't know if it had a huge effect or an impact in the game, but I want to share the wealth with you all. So Magic Deflector, this card negates the effects of all spell cards. Given the heavy reliance of the Purrely deck on quick play spells, this card can be used to negate all their quick play spells effects for a turn. And last but not least, for board breakers, you've got Kaiju's, Raw Sphere Mode, and Lava Golem. Perfect cards for spot removal and getting rid of pesky boss monsters. Moving on to Floodgates, we've got Summon Limit. This card restricts both players to only summon 2 cards. This will greatly hinder the Purrely deck's playstyle since the deck focuses on special summoning multiple times per turn, especially with the effects of Purrely quick play spells. Skill Drain. This card negates the effects of all monsters on the field. A significant amount of the Purrely deck strength comes from the effect of its monsters, so Skill Drain will greatly hamper the deck strategy. As always, you've got Macrocosmos and Dimensional Fissure. Both of these cards can banish cards instead of sending them to the graveyard. Since the Purrely deck relies on recycling its quick play spells from the graveyard, and some of its monsters have effects that trigger from the graveyard, these cards will interrupt its recycling and consistency. There can be only one. This card allows each player to control only one monster of each type. Since many of the key Purrely monsters are fairy type, they won't be able to maintain multiple Purrely monsters on the field at the same time. And the last Floodgate on our list is Perform a PAL 5 Rainbow Magician. While this card can potentially disrupt the Purrely deck's ability to attack and activate monster effects, it's a double-edged sword. The Purrely deck might be able to set up multiple spells and traps, which would negate the effect and double the attack of their monsters, so just be careful when you're running 5 Rainbow Magician. And that's a wrap with our discussion on countering the Purrely deck right here on the Draw Phase channel. Remember, knowing your opponent's deck and finding ways to disrupt their strategies is a key element of mastering Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that I've been able to provide you with some awesome insight knowledge and you've gained some valuable references today that will help you face off against the most unconventional decks with confidence. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the Draw Phase channel for more exciting content, and hit the notification bell so you will never miss a duel-worthy topic. Until next time, my friends, keep shuffling those cards and drawing into victory. This is Low Tier Hero signing off from Draw Phase. Take care, and I'll see you all on the ranked ladder.